What's going on, running fans, jumping fans, throwing fans, all around athletics fans? Welcome to Talking in Ovals. We are back, everybody, after a hiatus. You hear him, my partner in crime there, Dave Hyatt. What's going on, brother?
It's great to be back. The last couple of Mondays, I've been lost. I didn't know what I was supposed to actually do with my time. So this is nice, and what an amazing way for the track season to end with that, Diamond League finals in Oregon. It was absolute insanity. Every race was just ridiculous, and now we are on to cross country, every distance runner's favorite season.
Yes, and while you were lost on Mondays, I was in pain, sitting in a hospital, getting my gallbladder removed for those that are keeping score at home. So I've been out, but I'm on the mend. I'm able to eat some things now, a very bland diet. It's not fun. Don't let it happen to you. But before we get into all the fun stuff, today is Monday, September 18th of 2023. If you like what you hear, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars, Spotify and iTunes. Spread this show word of mouth. Go find us on the socials at Talking in Ovals. So this is episode 56. We're going to be chugging along again. And the last time we did an episode was a long time ago. We haven't released it yet because, again, I've been in a lot of pain. But you will hear Scott and Kyle Austin. Great episode that we had there, talking all about things about the indoor bubble over in Toms River, New Jersey. And there are two people that help manage that. So a very important part of track and field in the state of New Jersey, and a really cool, different perspective. And we're going to get on people now, Hyatt. We have all of our friends that are coaches. They love the show. Get us PRs, darn it. We want them. We want to announce them. We want to make everybody feel important because PRs are really hard to come by. And it doesn't matter this XC season, if you're a young lady and you're trying to break 25 for the first time, or you're a guy and 20 is your goal, 30, I don't care. We want to hear about it because we want to let the people know that you're achieving something. So definitely send us your PRs. Hi, you got another thing to announce.
I do have a quick little shout out from our past guest, Adam Nalvin, who coaches at South Brunswick. He runs the River Rockin' Run 5K relay, and the second annual one is going to be on Saturday, November 4th at River Rock Restaurant in Brick. It's a 5K relay race where each team member runs a 1.5 mile loop with a baton, or you can run the whole 5K solo. So get your partner out there, run it. It's a real fun time. And as he claims, it has the best post-race spread of all time. And I can attest that River Rock does have some wonderful food. So it'll be right after the XC season. Go out there, guys, do it, run, have a good time, and help support our buddy, Coach Now.
Yeah, and if you want more information, just go search for it on Facebook. River Rock and Run. They have a Facebook over there, I believe.
Race Forum. It's raceforum.com/River Rock.
There you go. So go look that up. And if you want any more information, go listen to the past episode with Coach Nalvin, because I'm pretty sure the race hasn't changed much. We hear all about it. But this week, we are coming back with a bang, Hyatt, because our guest this week is one of the best runners in the state of New Jersey, bar none. It is Peyton Hollis. She is a senior at Union Catholic High School in New Jersey. And if you know anything about the women's New Jersey running scene, Union Catholic is an absolute powerhouse. And Peyton is a senior leader there. What's going on, Peyton? Thanks for coming on the show.
Hi. Thank you for that introduction. It's going well. How are you?
It's going fantastic. I'm pumped to be back. If you can't tell, I'm all full of energy here. I'm very happy. So I want to cut right to the chase with you. Something that we do with all of our runners, and I find it interesting with our younger runners here. But when did you get the spark? When did you sit there and have that aha moment that I'm going to be a runner? This is what I want to do, because everyone has kind of a different path to how they get there. So when did you get that spark?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely always been very competitive. My parents can attest to that from all the game nights we've had as a younger child. But what I always tell people, I've been running for a very long time. But I think when I truly realized how important running was to me was freshman year. I started running when I was 6. So when people hear freshman year, they're always really surprised. They're like, "Oh, you didn't find that out sooner?" Like, that's a long time. But I think it was really just because for my freshman year, it was the COVID year. So it was there was no meets, like indoor season, and then outdoor it was so chaotic until really the championship season. So it was just me and a really small group of people training, but that year everybody was really isolated from one another, and just being in a group was really helpful. I got really close with the people I was running with, and just really started having fun with it. I was really enjoying my time both running and just being part of a group and making friends on the team, because I had run club all before, and while that's great, it's always kids from different towns, so I never got to like see my club friends outside of school. And then the fact that I was like part of a high school team and could go and see those friends, like, and wanted to see those friends after school was just huge for me. So I really started enjoying running, and I think from that I just started improving, and getting better, and that's really when I started racing. I would say I think I just started enjoying it more, and I realized how important the sport was to me and how much I enjoyed doing it.
So I have a quick question, because you said, you were a freshman when the COVID stuff was hot, and obviously like the seniors really got robbed of your senior season. So going into your senior season, do you appreciate it that much more right now, seeing what your seniors went through, and kind of maybe not even, because like you were barely like COVID, like you said, I've almost so isolated. So it was like you got together when you could, and I could imagine without getting your coaches in trouble, you probably snuck out and ran together when you weren't allowed to, because that's what kids
never
do. But
Never, no, we would never do that.
So
I mean, always
appreciating
6 feet apart, always 6 feet apart. Don't worry.
So are you appreciating coming into the senior year like a little bit more, knowing that it can be ripped away at any moment with some things that are outside of your control?
Oh, for sure, for sure. I think especially one of the girls who was in that like close group of friends that I would run with was a senior, and we got really close over the year. And with her, she runs like college D1 now at Lehigh, and she's very talented, but she obviously, like, her recruitment process was really different, and like she had to just go through having almost no senior season, and there was nothing she could do about it. And I think that really goes to anything. Like, there's no givens in running. So like there can always be an injury. There can always be, as you saw, like last week, you're in the hospital for something random, like anything can pop up. So you never really know what your senior season is going to look like. So I definitely don't take anything for granted this year. I'm really just trying to have the most fun with it and enjoy it. And then from there, obviously, like, you can get good times, like all that stuff comes with just really enjoying it. So I'm really focused on, again, like I said, enjoying it, because you never know where it's going to go. Like with COVID, no one expected that. So it was obviously really disappointing for a lot of the seniors. After I like talked to them about it, they were not thrilled that their senior year was ripped away from them, but they made the best of it. Like, they raced the races they had. And that's kind of the biggest lesson that I got out of it, was that you just have to run, like, when you're given the opportunity to. Like, they really enjoyed the moments they had, especially outdoor season. I think when we started like running in meets again, just racing. So that was it really opened my eyes freshman year of like how much you also have to love the sport to deal with it during COVID too.
Oh yeah.
So I have a question. Mm-hmm. Being on that, you are a part of an absolute wonderful juggernaut of a team.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
How much of a difference do you think that would be in terms of like the individual perspective versus the team aspect? Like, is everyone willing to sacrifice more because you guys know that you have this talent to run national level, or is everyone still kind of focused on themselves in an individual way, and that will kind of bring you all together as a team?
Yeah, this is something I actually like to speak on, because not a lot of people, or some people do know, but when I bring it up to some people, they're not familiar, that I actually transferred mid-year my sophomore year. So I went to my town's public school, and then I transferred to Union Catholic, and it's just been two very different worlds. Neither have been bad, but like, you definitely learn, like, going on to into such a powerhouse, like what it really means to be a team. Like at my old school, when it is just a group of you and three girls and none of you guys run the same races, it's just very different. Like, you obviously all are supporting each other and want to see each other do well, but certain ambitions and goals were just not like an option or possible. But for like transferring to Union Catholic, knowing that you're part of a team, it does make you want to succeed more in certain ways. I mean, this year, like Penn relays and nationals were huge goals that we had that we were able to succeed at, and those would just not have been possible without that team. And that's why I think you just realize how important it is to really appreciate one another and to support one another, because that's how you do well as a team. So I just think that that was really huge to realize, like, it's a group effort a lot of the time. Obviously, track and cross country are individual sports to some aspects, but you do have to be there for one another and support each other, and good or bad have to get through each race. So being there as a team is really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said in high school, I got way more excited for any relay race than I ever did for anything in an individual perspective. And I thought it was cool how you guys could have run in individual races at Penn relays or at nationals, but you guys chose, we're going to go after this 4x8. We're going to win Penn. We're going to, run well at nationals. And I thought that was really, really cool because it takes a whole team, and those are memories that you're going to look back on for the rest of your life.
Yeah, we all knew what we were capable of. And I think we're all just really excited to see where it could take us. I agree. I think individual events are awesome and they're super exciting to watch, but relays are also just as fun, just because relays, all four people have to be ready to run for it to go well. So I think we were all just really trusting in one another. That's really the biggest thing when it comes to a team, is you really just have to trust each other, that you're going to be there for each other, and that you all are individually going to work hard and do what you need to do to get to where you want to be. So yeah, Penn relays and nationals were great experiences, and I'm really grateful that we decided to run them as a team, because I think we all knew that they were possible. So that was great.
So piggybacking a little, because again, you are at Union Catholic and you are also one of the best individual runners in the state of New Jersey. So what has it been going into your senior year? Because there's definitely got to be expectations that you're probably putting on yourself, right? As a senior leader, to carry on the legacy of Union Catholic, and also on yourself. What has it been like, working with coaches, working with your teammates, to kind of temper those expectations and kind of make them so that you don't, because being a young runner is tough. You could drive yourself a little crazy if you're not grounded in your goals and how you're trying to do it. What has it been like trying to temper those expectations? Because it does take a special type of person to be able to step into a leadership role as a senior at a big program and be able to keep it all together. Everyone's looking at you, they're taking their cues from their leaders. So what has that been like this year, taking on that extra challenge?
Yeah, I mean, last year it was always great. If I didn't know the answer to a question, I just pass it on to the seniors. But this year, that question is then passed on to me, and I'm supposed to know the answer. So it definitely is. There is expectations of just wanting to be able to answer every question and wanting to know the right answer to everything. But then again, it's also just being able to admit when you don't know the answer, and you don't know how to go about something. I think I always tell people that if they ever want to talk or they ever have any questions for me, I'm happy to always listen. But if I can't tell you honestly, what I think is the right answer, then I'm going to tell you that. And I just want them to know that, I don't want to ever lead them the wrong direction. And a big part of running is kind of figuring it out on your own. It's really frustrating. And there's a lot of ups and downs to it. But a big part of it is going through challenging times and good times to kind of see A, how much you care about it, and then B, if you're really willing to continue doing it. But yeah, no, senior year is very exciting, but it's also definitely stressful, just because of the fact that this is your last year of high school running and you want to do well, but you also want to help the people who are now entering the team. But I'm very grateful because I do have a good group of other seniors too on the team this year. One of my training partners and best friend. Shout out Courtney Kaiser. She's been really helpful, just like to kind of help manage we have a lot of underclassmen this year, especially in the cross team. So to help manage that group and just to make sure everybody's able to understand like how we do practices, because again, this is like a new training schedule to them and new drills and exercises. So and a lot of obviously a lot of them have not lifted before, so it's just
and
good
they got to buy into the program.
Yeah,
exactly, to have a partner also to just kind of help ease everybody into this, because the jump from whether or not you had never run before or club to high school is always really aggressive. So I definitely think having a good group of senior leaders is really important on a team.
And, you mentioned like, the mental part of it and how that could be tough. And, we've all run before, and there's nothing worse than having like a great week of training, going into a race, towing that line, feeling great, and then all of a sudden just laying an egg, and it's just like you probably still ran well, but it's like, that was just not the race that I thought I was going to run. And like you said, it tests you mentally, because then it's, how are you going to pick yourself back up? Are you going to sulk? Because in high school, you're doubling most of the time. Like, you're coming back and you're racing again. And it's like, so what are you going to do? Are you going to sulk? Are you going to have another crappy race? Are you going to pick yourself back up? Like, what's your next week of training going to be like? So it's like, you don't have time to kind of feel sorry for yourself in running, and you need to like compartmentalize that. So it's like, and that's something that, you talked about. And I do have to say, you are wise beyond your years. Hyatt, we have been lucky with all of our high school athletes.
It's been amazing.
You guys I would be a bumbling fool if I was asked to do a podcast when I was in high school. So you guys are all wise beyond your years. So talk about some of the mental challenges that you faced throughout your career thus far, and what advice would you give to young runners, or maybe other athletes, not even young ones, other athletes that are listening to this that are facing similar walls? How did you overcome them, and what advice would you give?
Yeah, I definitely think the mental part has always been my greatest challenge, and I don't ever know like when it will be that I fully conquer it, or if I ever fully conquer it, but I do know that there are ways to learn how you respond to things and who you are as a person. I definitely work really hard on just making sure that I'm honest about myself, about how I feel before a race. Because as you said, you could have a great week, you could have a great month, like a great year, and then one bad race and you could fall apart mentally. And granted, that's happened to me, so that's why I feel comfortable speaking on it. But like it happens, and that's kind of one thing you just have to understand, is that these things happen. You're not alone. You can always talk to another runner. Every single runner has been through it. And I think one of the biggest things that somebody told me is that somebody else can be having a great year, and you like they can be having their best, like they can be at their best and just be doing extremely well and succeeding. And that's not a reflection of where you should be. I think it's very easy to compare yourself in the sport because, as we know, especially with social media, and I'm not saying that like I don't use social media, because I am the victim of that. But with social media, like, you're constantly watching all the highlight reels and all of the posts of people winning these huge meets or running these insane times, and you're Googling their stats and mile split. Oh my gosh. If I could tell you how many times I see my teammates in school Googling mile split PRs, it's insane. But it's really easy to fall for all those traps and to compare yourself. But where somebody else is at does not mean that you have to be there too. Everybody has their own path in running. And it's really about where you want to take it. I've had to learn it the hard way. I've had many of breakdowns and just fits at meets. It's definitely not cute to be crying in the corner or to be freaking out before a race, which afterwards I was like, why was I doing
You
that?
wouldn't be a distance runner if you weren't a little neurotic. Let's all be honest. We
Yeah,
won't go distance.
let's be
All
honest.
distance runners are a little neurotic. You wouldn't be one if you weren't spazzing out right before you get on that line, or it's just what we do.
Yeah, exactly. But what I've realized is always my best races have been where I've just decided to to run and shut off my brain. I think that, like, I've had to learn, again, like I said, had to learn the hard way. I've been battling it recently where sometimes I don't address races until the night before a race, or like literally 2 hours before a race. And then I'm freaking out and I only have 2 hours to really mentally prepare myself. Or there's the times where I'll spend the whole entire week thinking about the race, and then that consumes my entire week. And by the time I get to the race, I'm just mentally exhausted.
Yeah.
So has it been kind of torture? Because now the technology where the young ladies that you're racing almost a week ahead of time, like for meets, like you can go and see start lists. Like before, we used to have the giant start list, but you didn't know who you were telling.
I have no idea what teams were going to be
right?
at any meet.
Sometimes you'd have and I had the luxury of having a giant start list, but you wouldn't have any times. You would just know and you'd have an idea, but you guys get here's the seed time. Here's going to be this heat. Does that kind of drive you and some other athletes crazy right now, where you can actually see and start Googling the PRs of these girls and what have they run recently? Does that kind of how do you guys, because for me and Dave, we're old Hokies. I had some more things Dave didn't have. Dave kind of lived when they were still inventing the wheel. So he's a little old.
Not that old.
But overall, it's we don't have this technology that you guys have, especially with Strava. And now you guys are all friends. So you also see their workouts. How difficult is that right now, trying to navigate, wanting to be supportive of some of the other girls that you've made friends with and cheer for them. But at the same time, it's I want to tear your head off when we get to the line. So I don't want to know what you're doing. How has that been?
Yeah, it's definitely, I've watched my teammates and myself do it. It's really easy to fall for that trap, to go down that rabbit hole. But I think one of the biggest things that I've made sure is that I try not to go down that path as often as I can. I think it's both a curse and a blessing to have these resources, just because it's nice to sometimes know who's in your field. There are times where I'll ask my coach, is there anybody that I should be aware of, or who I probably want to know about before this race? And sometimes those are helpful so that I'm not unsuspecting in a race, because then granted, if I go into a race and there's somebody who runs an insane time and I'm not aware of it and they take us out and I go with them, I just wasn't mentally prepared to do that.
And sometimes it's helpful to know someone's right around your PR and you guys and you might have seen them before, and we'll run together and we'll try and make each other better. It does help at times. It absolutely does.
For sure. But then again, I do say that going down that rabbit hole and just continuing to stalk people's PRs and to freak out before meets because somebody else is in your race it creates a really negative mindset, and can just be a lot for a young runner, especially. It's important to know, it's important to be prepared for a race, but then I do watch people over prepare and freak out, and then before the race even happens, they've either told themselves they're going to lose or that person's better than them. And it's very easy, like I said, to get into the comparison game. So if you know somebody has a better PR than you, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to show up to the race with their A game.
Go get
so if you show up that day and you have the best race of your life, and they don't have a great race, you could beat them and win that race and feel great. But if you show up that day and you're they're going to beat me, they are going to beat you, unfortunately, because walking in with that mindset is it's always just leads to disaster. So I definitely think that while having all these resources is great, it's really easy to fall for that trap and to stalk everybody and to freak yourself out. So it's just really important that you kind of understand that at the end of the day, you're going to be racing them. So just prepare what you feel is comfortable for a race, and then just go into the race and run it the best you can. Again, nobody else in that race can really dictate what your best race is. So you never know where everybody else is at that day.
Absolutely.
And real quick, Dave, I just want to throw one thing out there before your question. And one of the things I think to piggyback on that'll be nice maybe for you to know and for other young athletes, when we had on Julie Cully was someone, I don't know if you listened to this episode, Peyton, but it was a few episodes ago, a little while ago. But she was the 2012 5K champion of the United States, not college, pro champion. And
in
she,
the Olympics, yeah.
yeah, and she went into the Olympics, and she explained to us that towing that line in 2012, she went through so many trials and tribulations of, you talk about crying. She had on that episode telling us it was just a roller coaster of crying, getting hurt, running fast, crying, getting hurt, running fast. Like, and she said she got on that line and they're just looking left and right, knowing how fast these other women were. She kind of had an out of body experience, but then just went and raced. And in the middle of the race, wanted to quit. Said easily could have taken an easy way out, but then fought through it. So it's not, this generation, I think you guys are definitely dealing with things that we didn't deal with in terms of social media, but you're not different in your mindset, in the way that you guys get there, and the way you kind of compare and sit there and put yourself below other people, and everybody's doing it. Nobody feels like when they toe that line, they're looking to their left and their right thinking, oh, they're prepared, they're better, they're this. It's something that I think all runners just need to overcome. And some runners, some athletes just have supreme confidence, and good for them. But there's a lot of people that, I had confidence a lot of the times, but then there's other times where I knew there were some kids that were like in the 800, 3-4 seconds faster than me. And I'm like, whoop, just gonna go run. Let's do this. And it is what it is. But, I think just like things like that, like she was a pro, and similar type of things, the exact same things you're talking about are the things she described throughout her pro career. So for any young listeners and anything, you're not like you keep saying, Peyton, you're not alone in what you're thinking. Talk to somebody, because 95% of the time, all runners have experienced the same thing you've experienced. So, I just think it's cool to hear that we all struggle with the same thing, but there are ways to get around it. Keep fighting and know that you're good. Just everyone step up there. Know you're talented. Know you're good. So definitely go out and do that. So sorry, Dave, I jumped into you.
So I was just curious because last year going into the States in XC, you were running phenomenal, and then you got hurt. So is there any extra motivation this year to say, hey, I didn't go anywhere. I'm back. I'm still just as good as I was, and you all better watch out? Or is there any little bit of hesitancy because you missed time and, you had to come back for track, but you didn't get to finish your cross country season? So is there a different motivation going into this year for cross country?
I would definitely say that last year, it was a really great year for me, just because of the fact that I had no expectations going into the cross country season. I had been your average soccer player, but I was not very good at soccer. Let's just get that out of the way. I was always track and then did soccer for fun. But I was actually pleasantly surprised with how my cross country season went. I didn't know if I was going to like it, because I had really only ever gone up to the mile. So I was 3 miles sounds like a lot of running.
And there's hills.
Exactly.
And hills. Elbows and
exactly. And hills and mud. What is this? But I did not know how it was going to go. So then I got really excited when it was going well, and I realized that I could be good at it. And then, as you could probably expect, getting injured was not ideal, and it was very frustrating, and it caused me to kind of have to reset, and just really take some time. And again, I had to come back into the indoor track season during the championship season, so that was a whole nother mental thing. There was just a lot of factors that year, but I do think coming in this year, it's really just about obviously staying healthy. I would like to make sure now that I've learned a few ways to just really listen to my body, and then also again, cross training this year, learning that was a big thing. So I really would like to stay healthy. That would be great. But also, I do think I would love to finish my senior year of high school, and just run what I know I'm capable of. I think that's the biggest thing. As you know, cross country PRs are kind of subjective to the course. It's very
the only thing that counts.
Exactly.
It's all Homedale.
And all the speed rating is.
But even Homedale though, it could rain one week, and it could
exactly, and all the speed rating is all over the place. So I can never tell you an exact PR, but I always just want to go in knowing I've raced to my fullest potential. And I think that's what I look to do towards until the end of the country season this year. And I do think that that's motivation for me. I was super excited and super proud of my team. They won MOCs, so great job, girls. Good job. And they also went to NXR and NXN, and that was huge because the girls team has never been, or the team has never been able to do that before. So that was really awesome to watch, and they made history, but obviously I would love to be a part of that history. So I think that's the biggest thing. And I would love to help continue the name of Union Catholic Cross Country. So I think that's the biggest thing this year. I do think that it was motivation just to really finish out the XC season with a bang and to really enjoy it, but also run what I know I'm capable of.
Do you guys ever feel the pressure like, all right, everyone's coming for us. We are by far the hunted team by every other team out there. Like, do you guys use that as like, let's go? Or is it like maybe you kind of wish at times that, there was a little less tension because you guys are so powerful this year?
I think we like a little bit of both. I think when there's not a target on our backs, we're kind of sneaky, and we like that. We like to know that people might not be expecting us this race, but we're gonna show up today. But I also think that there is the excitement of knowing that like people know we're good. Obviously, we've raced against teams that are just as good as us, so we've had competition before, but showing up knowing that there is a target on our backs is not always a bad thing. It's sometimes motivation and excitement of, okay, we came and people expect us to do something today, and we're going to do that. The excitement of that, and if we don't do it, then you know what, like, they know we're good, and that's honestly what matters. So like we're just really excited as a team to do something insane. So that's always fun.
You guys are off to a great start. I mean, 6 of the top eight spots at the Miles of Trials meet. That's a heck of a start. So kudos to all of you guys for that great start. And, I'm just excited to see how this whole thing pans out team-wise as individuals. Like, you never know. New Jersey Cross Country is one of the greatest seasons of all sports because you just never know what's going to happen. And it's just, as a fan now, it's just always fun to just see how everything plays out.
Definitely.
And Peyton, one of the things I loved when you were saying, like, I can't give you an exact PR in XC, because we've talked on this show about how, like, on the track, a lot of time trialing goes on, and we've seen the beauty of it with Jakob Ingebrigtsen and I think Moo and Faith Kipyegon just being ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
But the fun part about XC is, and I think this is important for collegiate stuff too, is how do you race? Can you do a muddy race and still come out and run well? Can you do a championship race where maybe it's not super fast, but you raced well and you timed your kick and so I think it was, that was an awesome answer. It's like, I'm not going to give you an XC personal best because it's always different. But I just love that you just talked about that. And obviously it seems like you're somebody that loves the racing aspect of it. So I want to talk about the different dynamics between XC and track. Because obviously right now we're in XC season. It's a very different training model. From your perspective, what have you seen to be the major differences in terms of training for XC and track?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I've said that I didn't anticipate was that in track, it's a lot of left turns, so it's just one big oval, and while that's very exciting, it's really easy to get unfocused during a race and kind of lost in whatever you're running. But during a cross-country course, I mean, there's hills, you're running over rocks and sticks, so sometimes you're not anticipating what the course is going to look like, and you kind of have to respond to it differently than you would in a track setting. A lot of people in track kind of just sit and kick, where in cross country, that doesn't always work if the person is sprinting down the hill and you don't decide to do that. But yeah, it's definitely very, very different in the same. It's very hard to explain just because it is running. At the end of the day, like, that is what you were doing, but when it comes to cross country, the mentality is also just very different. Like I said before, like, PRs aren't the same. So like the comparison is a lot harder to do. So sometimes the mental aspect of it is just different too. You can't really compare your cross country times to other girls' times because they're not on the same course, or you don't understand how they compare to one another. So that's always like a good thing, is that you can't kind of get in your head about something like that. But yeah, it's very different with also how you want to approach the race. Track, obviously you are giving 100% throughout the entire race, whether or not that's distributed in different areas. But across country, you have 3 miles, so you're not going 100% all the time, but it's broken up throughout the race. And that's really the thing, is also just like learning the course. I never really anticipated like how much I needed to understand about how different cross country courses can play a factor in how you run. So like when we ran at Warrenenko, that was obviously a great race, but it was definitely a flatter course. So I wasn't realizing how difficult that race was going to feel, because when you're going down a hill, you know that's kind of your break. You're running down a hill, so you don't have to sprint down, because the hill will take you itself. But when you're running at Hondo, knowing that you're really going to have to push up the hill, and that you can use the back end of the race to give you that energy to get wherever you need to be, is just, you have to have an understanding of that. So that's definitely different than track, whereas you are running around an oval, and if you break out of that oval, then you probably need to find your way back to the track.
Yeah, the first 2/3 of Homedale sucks. We could just say the first 2/3 of that
I have
race,
a problem with the first. I say the first hill is the hardest.
that is miserable. People always talk about the bowl,
is the hardest.
but that hill is just, you're running 400 meters just uphill.
It's the whole first mile.
It's
first mile. That's just
No one likes the bowl because it's in the middle of the race, so that's understandable. But the first hill, you are starting on an incline, which is just so frustrating.
You're sprinting across that field first to make sure you get,
and then everyone funnels in, and it's like
you're like, the gun just went off, and all of a sudden now I'm already like,
I'm running at 800.
So, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I come off. I'm always questioning my life decisions when you come off the first hill. So it's always very humbling. But then after that, I say that like
the roller coasters too, and
completed one of the hardest parts of the race. So like after that, it's, and I'm going to use air quotes even though people can't see me, it's smooth sailing. So for the rest of the race.
Yeah, no, it actually got voted on Citius Mag as the hardest cross-country course in the country.
Yeah, I saw that. People were posting about it and sending it. They were like, see, this is what us Jersey people have to go through.
And then someone's like, well, my county course in Indiana, we're like, this is a state level course. Like,
yeah, exactly. This is where we run the state meet, just so you know.
So piggybacking on that, go ahead, Dave, you can go.
No, go ahead.
Joe, so just real quick, piggybacking on the fact that we do have the hardest course in the country for cross country. Knowing that, what we all know, that New Jersey running is right up there with every single other state. You obviously look right now with the pro women, Sydney McLaughlin, Athing Mo, even Ajay and Allie Wilson. New Jersey people, right? Like, Jersey is where it's at a lot of the times for running. Do you guys ever stop and kind of pinch yourself at Union Catholic going, we're the best team in one of the best states. So when we step on that national stage, people are looking at us because they know what New Jersey brings. Have you guys ever stopped to take a moment to talk and be like, this is pretty badass? Like,
I think we do. I think we understand that we're obviously a very strong team, and people bring it up all the time. So there's no way we could forget. But
yeah, sorry.
I know, and that's not a bad thing. I just think we definitely talk about it, and I think that also, again, going back to that expectation, it just helps us understand like how everybody is there to work hard. So you do have to do your part. Obviously, again, everybody's going to struggle some days, and that happens with every runner. Like, no one's going to be on their A game 100% of the time. But at the same time, like, knowing that you do have to do the workouts and do them to the best of your abilities, and try to hit the times. And then even today, like it was pouring rain, and we had a long run, so we were in the long run, and then we had to come home, and I had to do like my exercises and stuff, and that's just something that you can't slack off, and you can't be like, I don't feel like it, like I'll do it another day. Like it doesn't work like that, and you just have to kind of know that we are one of the best teams in the nation, and are like one of the best teams in the state for a reason. And that's just because everybody who is on the team works really hard and brings their A game when they can, and works as hard as they can even when they're having an off day. So that's honestly why I think we've been so successful. And obviously we have a great coaching staff, and just everybody understands like why it is that we are so good, and really tries to make sure everybody knows that. Again, being a team is just something that we emphasize all the time. And just making sure that everybody knows that obviously this is an individual sport, and everybody should try their hardest to meet their own goals. But at the end of the day, we're coming back together and we're celebrating it all together. So
you're only as strong as your fifth runner in XC. You really,
exactly,
your fifth runner is the most important one in XC. It really is.
Exactly.
So I have a question, because I have never seen it in person. Can you explain to me the configuration of the Union Catholic track? Because it is not an oval, right?
Oh, no, it is not an oval.
It's like a big triangle or something, right?
That's against our whole show. We're talking in ovals. What are we doing here?
I know, but now we're talking in triangles to make it makes more sense for my brain. So it's essentially shaped around the baseball diamond. If you would like think about it like that, there is a 100-meter straightaway, so we have those, but there's a straightaway, and then when it curves over, it kind of just flattens around the diamond, and then continues around, and then it meets back to form a triangle. We cannot run meets on it, unfortunately, because that is not an oval, but
it's a tri-meet.
Yeah, but there's no, I mean, exactly.
Dad joke there, tri-meet.
Dad joke.
Exactly. I mean, it would definitely there would be some interesting events there, but it's definitely not your everyday oval track, but it's you can run on it. The turns are like curved so that you're not running in like exactly on a point. But right. There is. I'd say near the diamond, it's a little bit of a sharper turn. So maybe that's why we're so good at getting around the turn and getting off of the straightaway.
Gives you an XC advantage right there.
How long is it? Is it 400 meters?
It is 400 meters.
It is 400 meters.
Yes. So we're not cheating on that standpoint. But,
that's well. I mean. Yeah. We had on the Manasquan coach, and they have like a 250-meter J track because they like couldn't finish it. So it's just funny how like different places have, because of the uniqueness of maybe their property or the amount of land that they have. But I mean, you guys clearly make it work. I mean, it's
you can have success on different things as long as there's a track there. That's all that matters. Having a track there helps.
What is it? The triangle is like the strongest shape. So. I feel like that speaks to Union Catholic.
That's all. I'll listen, if that's what you guys got to do, that's what you guys should put that on shirts.
Exactly. We'll just put our track and then just say this is the strongest shape. Yeah.
So I have one. When you're at school and just knowing that you went to the same school as someone like Sydney McLaughlin, like how much pride do you guys still have in that fact? Like Sydney McLaughlin, the world record holder, went to my high school. Like, is that something that like still gets talked about? It's like, she's been out of high school for a couple of years now, or is it still like a huge deal? Because I know it's like people like us. I didn't go to the same high school, but she's from my state, and I used to coach high school girls track, and we would just stop like when she was in high school, because I was coaching girls track then at the time, and we just watch, like everybody, coaches, other athletes would just watch her compete. Like, what is it like knowing that she went to your high school? Because that's pretty cool.
It is, and trust me, the school will not let you forget it. Her face is almost everywhere within the school's walls. So but obviously, rightfully so. She's an extremely talented runner. And it's really cool to know that her coach is the same person coaching me. And she trusted him, and he took her to she got to the Olympics under the same training.
In high school, yeah.
In high school, yeah. So obviously, she's a very talented runner. So that speaks to who she is as a person, but it's really cool to know that she kind of kickstarted the name for Union Catholic track, and especially on the girls' side too. I just know the boys had been very talented and had started getting more momentum, and then Sydney McLaughlin really started a name for the girls, especially. So the fact that we're able to kind of continue that and still have success it's really cool. And I just think it's great to know that she went to the school, she followed through with all 4 years, and she enjoyed it. And now I get to do a similar thing.
That's awesome.
So we're going to switch gears because, enough talking about Union Catholic and teaming. Let's get into a little more individual stuff with you, Peyton. Let's talk about the college recruiting process, because obviously if you're good in New Jersey, colleges are going to want you. That's just how it is. You're going to, you're going to get scouted out. People are going to contact you. So how has the process gone for you at this point so far?
It's gone very well. I'm very excited because I actually just recently verbally announced that I committed to Duke University.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. So I'm very excited about that. But yeah, no, the college recruiting process is very different for everyone. And it's all over the place. I think one of the biggest things to note is that for a lot of NJ runners, or whoever you are, runners in general, they're going through their junior year, which is a year ahead of all of their classmates. So while you have this small population in your school building who's going through a recruiting process, everybody else is worried about just making sure their grades are good so that they can then the next year go on all the college visits and impress coaches. But you are talking to the coaches about your current grades and about your current ambitions and to get into that school sometime that year or the beginning of your senior year. So really when your process is ending, everybody's just starting. And that's just a really weird feeling. Obviously now that I've committed, it's really exciting, but I can tell you that during that time it can be very stressful. So I think the biggest thing is just being honest, and that's with everything. That's with where you really see yourself. If you don't see yourself at a school and a coach is reaching out to you, you have to tell the coach that. But also you should be open to having a conversation with the coach and seeing what the school is. You always can be surprised. Some of the schools that I did not anticipate being at the end of my recruitment process were there because I really enjoyed the conversations I had and got very interested in the schools. But you never want to waste a coach's or your time. Coaches really want you to find the school that you belong at, and it might seem hard because obviously they're recruiting you, but if you don't see yourself at that school, they don't want you to be miserable there. So obviously it's really important just to be honest throughout the whole thing, and to be open-minded about what you want and where you want to be. But yeah, no, it's really important just to kind of, I mean, this is the next 4 years of your life. Obviously, like, coaches want you to succeed. And they obviously, if they're recruiting you, they see you succeeding at their program. But if you don't see yourself at their program, you have to be honest about that. But yeah, that's like, recruiting is kind of all over the place. So it's really important that you just are honest with yourself and others about it.
And so now that you've committed to a Duke, is that like this weight off of your shoulders? Now you can just focus on your senior year and not have to worry about all that stuff and just say, all right, now let's go. I already know where I'm going. Now it's time to just focus on Union Catholic this year, this team, and just go for it.
It's really exciting knowing that I already know where I'm going to college, and that that's not something I'm going to have to be super concerned about my senior year. Just again, like, my classmates are talking about other visits and where they're going to go and their applications. And this year I only have to do one application, so I'm definitely not complaining about that. Awesome. But it's very nice. It's definitely lifted a weight off my shoulders just because of the fact that now I can focus on running and doing well in school. And this year I got to take courses that I was really interested in and are possibly planning on pursuing in college, just to see if I even like them. So it's really nice to know that this year I have a little bit more flexibility with what I do, because last year, junior year definitely felt like stereotypical junior year. There was just a lot of talk about college and all the testing and scores and all the school stuff, and there was just more things that I had to get done. And again, falling behind sometimes felt like I was falling 10 steps behind, whereas previous years it felt like, okay, it's one step back. But junior year definitely was difficult just because, like, getting off track can really push you back a lot.
Definitely. So, just curious, what were you looking for? Because obviously, schools are recruiting you as an athlete, right? What were you looking for in a school academically and athletically in terms of like team and academics? What were your standards when you were looking for schools?
Yeah, well, the first thing I said was that I can't go somewhere that's really, really cold because I just don't do well in cold weather. But that's me being nitpicky because I know it can get cold, but in North Carolina. But the biggest thing that I looked for was the team dynamic. I went to North Carolina multiple times, but I also like spoke to girls on different teams and like coaching staff about their girls and their goals and how they went about like team bonding and all that stuff. And that was a really big thing to me. I've noticed that running is really fun for me when I'm surrounded by a good group of people, and that was just one of the biggest things I prioritized. Academics were definitely something that I wanted to prioritize too, so I wanted to go to an academically rigorous school and make sure I was getting a good education, but also was somewhere that was going to help set me up outside of the running world. I would like to go somewhere with connections, and also that was going to give me opportunities to pursue what I was interested in. But yeah, on the running standpoint, when I was getting recruited, I was really heavy on questioning about their girls and their team dynamic, just because I know that that's something that can be a big make or break for me. If your girls don't get along, then it's just a very toxic environment to be in, and it can be very. It's just another factor to be added. Especially, I know freshman year of college it's a big adjustment. So if you're having trouble just clicking with the girls, that's something that you have to think about. So I think I was looking at each school, and where I felt like I fit in the most was really the most important thing to me.
That's a great way to look at it and a great way to have a standard for what do you want to do.
Do you ever talk to like any of your opponents and maybe see where they're going? Like, does that factor into anything at all? Hey, like, why don't we both go here? Or you just were worried about doing your own thing and that's it?
I think I definitely talked to other girls about their recruitment process to kind of learn more about it, I would say. It was not necessarily like a strategic thing where you were planning on going to school together to form some sort of powerhouse, because when I talked to other girls, everybody had a different recruiting process. Everybody loved different things about the schools they were talking to, or there were people who had been talking to my school and who just didn't fall in love with it like I did, and that's completely like their perspective of it. Like, again, their priorities were different than mine, and that's the biggest thing, is making sure you really focus on what you prioritize in the recruiting process and make sure you apply that to where you want to go to school. But yeah, when I talk to other girls or just other people who are getting recruited, I really just wanted to hear why it was that they chose certain priorities, because like sometimes they pointed out things that I hadn't thought about. But yeah, like at Duke they have there's a lot of programs that you can join to really be a part of something like outside of the running world, but like to kind of explore new interests. And that was something that really interested me, because I would love to travel, and they have a program to go travel abroad for athletes, and I thought that was huge. So really cool. That was something that was really important to me. But if that was not something that somebody else prioritized, then I can understand how that's not something of interest to them.
Definitely. So you can also be honest here. How excited for you to be able to go to basketball games, and how much do you already hate North Carolina? Is it already there? Now that you're committed to Duke, do you just hate UNC intrinsically now?
Yeah, my blood runs blue now. So we bleed blue is the
dark blue.
Dark blue, yeah.
Dark blue.
Not Tar Heel blue.
Tar Heel blue.
Let's not
Blue Devil blue. Blue Devil blue.
Blue Devil blue. Let's get that clear. Let's get that clear. I bleed Blue Devil blue. Yes, that would be the color.
That's awesome.
Yes, I'm a big basketball person. I'm very excited, very, very excited that the Duke football team is doing well this
You're
year.
doing
That was
very well.
Hey,
they're doing very well. Everybody was shocked, and I was
Even though I'm a
yes,
Florida State guy, so Duke can only do
Listen.
well until they play Florida State. Then they got to take
Yes.
loss.
But I was like, I'm all for this. Like,
Yeah, it's
football
great.
games are just as fun, but
Yeah.
I'm a big basketball person, so I'm happy to be indoors watching basketball.
A Cameron crazy.
Cameron
He's a Cameron
indoor
crazy.
arena.
Exactly, and I've already like seen that their recruiting class is going to be good, so I already know that they're going to be exciting
love
to
it.
watch.
She's going to be
I'm really-
tenting
I'm really
outside
very
in Sheskeyville to wait for her tickets.
I already saw. It was funny because I was there on campus when they had the tents out, and I was absolutely terrified that people live in those. So, you might not catch me in the tent, but I'll be walking to class.
She's going to be the one at the meets bugging coach, being like, Coach, there's a game tonight. Can we make it back? And they're going to be like, focus on your race.
Exactly. Like, Coach, do you think you could get me tickets to the UNC Duke game?
That would.
Clearly, I'm very excited. This was something my mom actually asked me. She's like, Peyton, do you want to go to a basketball school or football school? And I was like, basketball sounds great. But now that we're football too, I'm not complaining.
No.
Yeah, that's really good. So last thing about the recruiting process, do you have any positive or negative experiences? Obviously, without naming names or schools, obviously, like we're not going to get there. But do you have any positive or negative experiences that you want to share that maybe can help some younger runners that are just starting out with the process, things that you liked or didn't like about certain aspects of recruiting or pitches that teams gave or things like that?
I definitely think that when I went to schools where they just wanted to talk about running, and that's obviously a huge part of why they're recruiting me, but also schools that are looking for your personality were huge. I definitely would say I'm very like outgoing and have a big personality. So I like to be able to talk about things that are outside of running and kind of get an understanding to why they want me as their athlete. Because you have to get along with the girls and the coaches, and you have to fit in with the team. So like your personality has to match. So when I went to schools and they didn't really seem interested in getting to know me, that was kind of a turn away, just because it just didn't feel like they were interested in me as a whole. They felt like they just wanted me to be the person to run around ovals and get them attention. So it was really cool to go to schools where it felt like they were interested just in who I was and what I wanted to do in school. And all those things are important too. Like, coaches have to know their athletes. They have to know what they're interested in. If they know they're going to be taking hard classes, they have to take that into account. And if they know that they have ambitions or goals that go past just running, they have to know that. So when I went to schools that were like Duke, that were just really excited for like who I was and like who I wanted to be, that was really cool. And that's really how you kind of get into conversations about like what the school's benefits for who you are like can be, and how you can utilize those benefits. But yeah, no, for anybody who's starting the recruiting process, I would always just say, and this is very cliche, just be yourself. Being like yourself and being true to who you are is huge. Coaches are looking at your personality. It's obviously when you first start a call with a coach, you're going to be freaking out. You're going to be sweating. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, like they're going to read into everything I say and they're not going to want me if I mess up. But they are also human beings. They are just trying to get to know you. You're going to have more calls with them and you're going to get to know them. It's like an interview process. They're interviewing you and then you're also interviewing them. Like, you're seeing if this relationship could actually work. So it's really important that you are yourself, because if you aren't, then they're not gonna always know that, and they're not gonna be able to read whether or not you could actually fit into their program. And that's really something that you just have to truly be who you want to be. Coaches get really excited when they see somebody who's just excited to go to that school, or who's going to be honest. Yeah, exactly. Who's going to be honest with them. Being genuine is huge. It's just how you form good relationships with coaches. You don't even after like I told coaches I wasn't going to their school, I was sad. Like I had talked to those coaches for a year or months, and it just felt like I was breaking up with them in the best way to put it. But like it was just very, it was weird because I had spent so much of my time talking to them and getting to know them, and I had loved their schools too. But it was like finding the school that actually fit me was also very exciting. And then also those coaches were excited for me. While obviously it's disappointing that an athlete doesn't want to go to your school, they were just excited to know that I had found the school that was right for me. So being genuine throughout that entire process was really important, and also allowed me to see what personality I fit best with.
And you'll find that doing it the right way will also benefit you down the road too, because you'll see these coaches at meets and they'll come up to you and say, you're having a great season, keep it up. Like only positive, and it really works well. And you never know when you're, if eventually you may become a pro, and these coaches may have moved on to be doing something else there, and they'll remember these types of things. Like, that was a great girl. She did things the right way. So always, that's a really good way to put it in terms of being genuine and just being honest with the coaches. And, those relationships are still there. It's just you're not into their school. And that's okay.
I really like how you said that it's an interview on both sides.
Oh, yeah.
They are interviewing you, but you also have to interview them and find out things about them and the school. So I think that is very good, sound advice as well. Don't just be the person who's always listening. Speak up, ask questions, and make sure that you are committing to the place that's best for you.
Yeah, and even on my wall back here, I have some Post-it notes, which I still have up, of just like questions I had for coaches. Yeah, I had a notes app. Like that was my biggest thing. Like I had a notes app of just all the generic questions, and if I thought of one, I would write it in the notes app, and I pinned it to the top of my notes. And anytime I had a call, I would be on that notes app. And if the conversation then strayed to, do you have any questions? Just ask those questions. Like there's no dumb questions. And for people who are just starting it, they expect you to not know what's going on. They want you to ask questions because that's how you understand what you're getting into and get to better know their school. So just, again, be genuine. If you have a joke, you can tell it. Like they're real human beings. They want to get to know you. I remember the first time I think I used like a smiley face at the end of a text message. I was freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, are they going to think I'm insane? I used an emoji. But you just, and then she sent an emoji back, or like a fire emoji. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is huge. So again, personality is huge. And they're real people. So they just want to see who you are.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's awesome. And that's what organization looks like. People be organized, because I remember I was going into it. My mom's like, do you have any questions to ask these coaches? I'm like, I'm supposed to have questions. She's like, you idiot. Have questions.
I love how you think my mom wasn't on top of me. Like, yeah, no. My mother has been the guiding compass in this whole entire process. I will fully say that my mother is my biggest help in this whole and everything. So but again, like there were things I had to like learn the hard way. And obviously like she gave me her opinion and I chose whether or not to take it. That's like something that when I learned the hard way, but you
always take your mother's advice. You'll learn.
You'll
learn that as you get older. Listen, you'll sit there and you're going to continue to fight with your mom. You're going to go through the battles all throughout college. You're going to get out of college. You're going to go and start to be on your own. And then you're going to realize every single thing my parents told me was right. And it's going to suck to sit there and realize that you've been wrong for the first 24 years, 23 years, whatever it is of your life about most.
I'm going to be calling my mom in college, asking her how I boil water. Like it's going to be.
Don't forget to add salt when it starts to boil. Don't just you can't miss that part.
Okay. I think I can do that, but we'll see.
So before we jump out of here, I got to ask you a question that we end off with everyone.
Okay.
We are all fans of track and field. We love track and field. We're the ones that seek it out on Peacock. We go to watch all these Diamond League meets and world meets. There are very few of us out there. If you had the ability to take professional track and field, the world of track and field, and change it in order to make it more popular, in order to make it better for the normies, because one of these days, you may be somebody that's in line for a pro contract and you're going to want to make money. So we need fans in order to make money. How would you change the sport right now in order to make it a more profitable, a more popular sport in this country?
That's a very good question. Oh my gosh.
No pressure.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, I know. And this is I feel like this is a question that comes up like just because like it is such like a small knit community, and everybody's very close to one another, so people don't realize that like branching out is like sometimes you have to take it to a lot of people. But I think I just feel like there's not enough hype around the sport, and I feel like there should be more excitement. And I mean, we've seen this year just with like Noah Lyles going on online and talking and saying some things that like he got some backlash for, but again, no publicity is bad publicity. And I think that you just have to like, again, I think like I said in the recruiting process, like show your personality. And I would love to see more athletes do that and just really be who they want to be on the track, because people love seeing themselves in sports. So when you have athletes with big personalities like Sha'Carri and Noah, like you get really excited to watch them run, even if sometimes Noah says things about the NBA and then all the NBA, but all the basketball.
Hey, he got support from all the European players. All the European players were on his side. It was only the Americans that went at him.
All of the American basketball fans attacked him, but like they were invested. It was exciting. It was like he's on overtime. He's on all these like.
He was on First Take, like Stephen A. Smith was talking about. But to me, it was like, all right, like he's getting attention for that. Not the fact that he just won three world championship medals.
Exactly.
But they did bring it up, though. But they would bring it up. As they brought it up, they would sit there and say he had clout to say it.
But they only brought it up
a multi-time world champion
because he made the comments about the NBA.
Exactly. And regardless of who's right or wrong, it was just so exciting to be like, oh my gosh. Like,
absolutely.
He's being posted everywhere, and like everybody's talking about track and field for once. Like this is huge. So I would love for there just to be more excitement. I mean, like if there was as many watch parties and like as there are like for Super Bowls and stuff like that,
or even for the World Cup. The World Cup, it comes around every 4 years, but it's huge.
Exactly. And I mean, like in school, people were watching the World Cup. So I would just love for there to be more hype around the sport, for more people to, I guess, watch it on their television or to want to put it on, to throw it on sports, like online, like the online pools, all of the edits they make, all of the hype edits. Like there needs to be more of that. I think that like those are what gets you excited. It's like when you walk out of like a action movie and you want to be that character afterwards. Like all of a sudden I'm convinced that I'm Tom Cruise and I can fly the fighter jet. So like when you watch like a sports edit and you're like, wow, that was actually really cool. It just gets you excited to then go find out more about that sport, or it gets you very hyped up, I would say.
We got to get some Peyton Hollis highlight reels, some sports edits. No, what they really should do is in XC races, they should set up cameras in the woods so that when people are getting elbowed, like that could be a sports edit. Just watching someone getting a bow to like the chest is like it hurts.
I don't know if you saw, but one of the clips that was floating around was from Nike Nationals when the kid pushed the other kid over, and that
other
was
kid
like
everybody trying to pass on the inside and he hit him. You deserve to get.
I know there was a lot of controversy with that for all the runners, but everybody like no matter your running background, people were laughing and getting so excited about that clip just because it was something like hilarious to watch.
Yes.
So I just think there should be more excitement and hype around the sport.
And just anybody who can bring that hype to this state, it is Mr. Jim Lambert, and he 100%. That guy is the greatest. He's so full of energy, and he's gonna make this season one of the best ones that we've ever had, because that's just what he does, and he's just amazing. And I can't wait to read his stories about, like, I read the article that he wrote on you. It was fantastic. He's just the best.
Yeah, he really is.
So Peyton, thank you so much for coming on. This was an absolute blast.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This was very fun.
I love it, Dave. So far, our high school guests have all been absolutely crushing it. So I can't wait. Once again, Peyton Hollis, senior at Union Catholic High School in New Jersey, committed to Duke. Duke has an absolute gem, and I am super excited to see the rest of your season, to see the rest of Union Catholic season. And I think we're going to see some more history with some great leadership and someone who is very wise beyond her years, which, you know, we keep saying about these high school athletes. I think it's because you guys are all social media. You're all just making TikToks and Snapchats. You're all so used to being Talking.
Yeah, I'm just reciting a TikTok that I saw earlier. Yeah.
Hey, listen, make us TikTok famous. Let's do it. Dave, do you have anything else before we close out here?
No, just we both wish you the absolute best to have a wonderful, healthy, great season as an individual and as a team. And we're going to be watching. And congratulations on the Aduka commitment. That's incredible news.
Thank you so much.
We're also going to be hawking you for personal best. So we expect that if you get one, we get an email or something saying, hey, just ran a personal best. And if your teammates want to get involved, we would love to give all you ladies and young men over there shout outs at Union Catholic when you guys get them. So we're going to be hawking you for that. And everybody else that we know, we want your PBs. That was so much fun last year, giving all these shout outs. I don't care if it takes 5-10 minutes at the beginning of the show. You guys all deserve it. So we want those. And if you like what you heard today, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars, Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth. Go look for us on the socials at Talking in Ovals. This was a blast. I'm happy to be back. We'll be back again every week, barring some unforeseen medical emergency again, but I don't plan on having that happen. So once again, Talking in Ovals. We'll be back next week. So long, all.